Hello and welcome to my review of the Warhammer 40,000 Conquest magazine, issue 34. I did promise you that the next issue would have the first look and then the review the day after. I like doing things like this and I will continue outputting these Conquest magazines in this format. This magazine came out many months ago, but I've had so much positive feedback from people in other countries that you just can't get hold of this magazine and they want to see what's in it. I will catch up to date. There'll be quite a few weeks where I'll release nothing but these first looks and reviews to get up to speed, because I think we're on issue in the 60s or so, and there are 80 issues. There might be more planned after this because it has been very successful. If you don't already know, this magazine will set you back £7.99 a week, so it's almost £32 every month. Issue 34 was quite a decent one. It contained the Malignant Plaguecaster, the Noxious Blightbringer, and a Plague Champion. Now, this is just the sprue from the Dark Imperium set, but I will review these models individually, obviously show you size comparisons as well with other models from the Conquest subscription as well. This is the first time that they made these models in grey plastic for the magazine. Typically, they're in the green plastic. Doesn't make much difference, but I thought I'd draw your attention to that. So the magazine itself then has the 3 on the front cover. You do get some spare parts to build another Plague Marine at some point in the future, so that's great. You've got a little bit about the Malignant Plaguecasters there, some there, a little bit about the Noxious Blightbringer, and there, and then Death Guard villains, how to build them. It says, yeah, save parts 5, 6 and 7 to build a Plague Marine in a later issue. There you go. So it tells you how to build the Plague Champion, which is easy enough, how to build a Blightbringer and the Malignant Plaguecaster. How to paint them, obviously paint them Death Guard green. It goes through all of the stages and some shading, and then the base. And there you go. Deny the Witch. It's a tutorial mission. It gets you familiar with the psychic powers, even though we've had a librarian already. And then more about the Deny the Witch. Mission briefing, kill the Plaguecaster. And then Psychic Clash, and it gives you the 2 data sheets. I won't be reading from these. I'll be reading from the Death Guard Codex that came out a good couple of years ago. And then nothing on that page, but then it shows you like a preview of the next 2 issues. Issue 35, I'll try and get that out quite quickly, but I'm still covering the Sisters of Battle Army box set and some Slaves to Darkness models too. So issue 35, the first look and review, may take a bit of a back burner, and then issue 36 will just be, you know, the first look and review all in one video. So that's the magazine itself. Nice that it focuses on you know, the models that you actually get in the set. Speaking of which, let's have a look at them. So we'll start off with the Malignant Plaguecaster, because this is the HQ choice in the set. I'll just sort the lighting out a little bit better. So here he is, or here it is. You've got him blowing a big goop of some kind of spell, flies, mucus, pus, whatever, you know, goop dripping down and slime dripping down. It's got this funky looking tassels there that is attached to his hood that actually has spikes to it. His kind of staff or wand or whatever you want to call it is kind of like a branch in the form of like a twisted branch with the 3 symbols there for Nurgle. You've got the 3 symbols there as well, and you've got the flies, and you've got spikes, and you've got, yeah, more flies there. I like the action of this model. You know, this action pose that he's mid blowing this spell really lends itself to the model. And when I first saw the Death Guard, I thought, yeah, that is a cool model. Such a cool model to have in the Dark Imperium set as well. I love the spikes and the horns and things, and the bone protruding out of the feet to give him a bit more stability. And I like obviously the gaping mouth in there as well, with some, you know, intestines and boils and pus and things spewing out. Yeah, it's pretty horrific, but it really lends itself to the Death Guard and this model. Let's have a look at the Blightbringer. He's all about the bells. You know, this guy is tubular bells. He's even got a little nurgling hanging off one of his horns that's protruded out of his power plant, and he's got this big old bell swinging from the branch from the other side of the power plant. He's got these incense balms, or whatever you want to call them. I think that's what they are. He's even got a little bell on his claw there and there. So yeah, he jingles about like Santa, I suppose, with all these bells and things attached to him. He's got this bell here. He's got a plasma pistol, which is awesome. I love the grill. I always like that style of helm. He's got some bells hanging off his horn there as well. So yeah, loads of detail on this one. Painter's dream, especially with a little nurgling as well. So that's quite decent. And you know, all these models, these three models, you can't get separate. You can only get them, you know, in this subscription or in the Dark Imperium set itself. So you know, for people that want to get the Lord of Contagion, or they want to get this Blightbringer or the Plaguecaster, you're going to have to go down that route. You know, get the subscription or get the Dark Imperium set. Which is a bit of a shame, because I would have liked them to have seen them release these kind of special, well, not special characters, but these individual characters, you know, separately from the, you know, the box game. Anyway, that's the Blightbringer, and then we've just got the champion. So this is a Plague champion, whereby you'd pick one of your normal Plague Marines to be the champion. He's pretty good because obviously he's got the blade there, which would just be a plague knife. I suppose you could change it up and have it as a plague sword. There's also, cool thing about this model, he's got a power fist too. I like the spiky shoulder pauldron, and this kind of like tentacle thing coming out of his mouth, and tentacle there, and then he's got a head there. I think it might be a, is it blind grenade? No, I think it might just be a head. And then he's got this big old fly that's you know, buzzing around him. I don't think it's attached, you know, like don't think it's perched onto his power plant, but it is buzzing around him. And then he's got his bolt pistol there. So yeah, slow, cumbersome, lots of protruding horns and things on all these models. They're absolutely fantastic. This is definitely one of the best issues. If you don't already have these models from the Dark Imperium set, it's an issue well worth picking up. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just show you some size comparisons. We'll start off with the Death Guard theme. I've got a Blightlord Terminator, just give you the size of this Blightlord Terminator compared to, you know, the Blightbringer. The Terminator is huge with that cataphracti plate. Massive. Just, you know, these Terminators are very big, especially on the bigger bases, you know, compared to the Champion and even the Plaguecaster too. So when you get these in the subscription as well, but yeah, I like the fact that the Terminators have way more bulk than the normal kind of troops. Here's a Myphitic Blight Hauler. Absolutely brilliant little vehicle slash monster creature thing, and yeah, these kind of swarm about it. Even though it's a small kind of vehicle, the Death Guard are shrunk comparison to one of these, but just to give you a size comparison with those. With some non Death Guard models, I've got a normal Space Marine right here, which if we compare it to the Champion, similar sort of height, which is great. Obviously, you know, a bit more bulk on the Death Guard, but yeah, very similar height there. And then a Primaris, of course, Primaris would be a lot taller. Yeah, he's another head taller, even next to the Blightbringer. Yeah, like another head taller than those. And then next to a wee Sisters of Battle. Look, we've actually got Sisters of Battle models in 2019. So she is, yeah, about a head shorter than these Death Guard minis. Almost the same height, but just a bit shorter, but very slender. And you can just see the amount of detail compared to you know, the other models from a couple of years ago. Or, you know, there's so much detail on these Sisters models. Okay, so you've come to my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules for these three miniatures. I'll start off with the Malignant Plaguecaster right here on the left. He is an HQ choice. The other two aren't, so it makes sense to start with him. He's a power points cost of a 6, points cost of 110. Quite pricey, you know, over the 100 point mark. His movement is 5 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 5, 4 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 8, and a save of 3+. It's a decent stat line, you know, especially with that toughness 5 and 4 wounds. It's armed with a corrupted staff, a bolt pistol, blight grenades and crack grenades. Bolt pistol works as usual, but the corrupted staff is a melee weapon that adds +2 to his strength, so that's strength 6, AP -1 and a damage of D3, so there's no slouch in combat with that, although he only has the 3 attacks. Blight grenade is something you might not have heard of before unless you play Death Guard, so I'll just read out that start line. It's a range of 6 inches, grenade D6, strength 3, AP 0 and a damage of 1, and it is a plague weapon. Crack grenades work as usual. Abilities: Death to the False Emperor, Disgustingly Resilient, and also Pestilential Fallout. Each time this model successfully manifests a psychic power with a psychic test of 7 or more, the nearest enemy unit within 7 inches suffers a mortal wound after the effects of the psychic power have been resolved. That's pretty good. So psychic test of 7 or more, then yeah, you get a mortal wound on the enemy. Psyker. This model can attempt to manifest 2 psychic powers in each friendly psychic phase and attempt to deny 1 psychic power in each enemy psychic phase. It notes a smite psychic power and 2 psychic powers from the contagion discipline. You'll need the codex to find the contagion discipline. Faction keywords: Chaos, Nurgle, Heretic Astartes, Death Guard, Character Infantry, Psyker and Malignant Plaguecaster. So although a little bit pricey, you do get a fair bit for your points cost. You know, you've got a good save, decent toughness obviously, decent number of wounds, an alright melee weapon, and he's a psyker on top of all that. So let's move on to the Blightbringer, which is an elite choice. He's in the same category as the other elite choices, such as the Biologist Putrefier, the Plague Surgeon, the Foul Blight Spawn, and the Tallyman, as well as Death Shroud Terminator and Blightlord Terminator, among others. So the Noxious Blightbringer, he is a bit cheaper. He's a power points cost of a 4, same as the other elite characters. He is a points cost of 63, again, so that's quite cheap. His stat line reads: movement of 5 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 5, 4 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 8, and a save of 3+. So that means he's got exactly the same as the more expensive Malignant Plaguecaster. He does a little bit, he's got a different battlefield role though. So it's a single model armed with a cursed plague bell, a plasma pistol, blight grenades and crack grenades. So a plasma pistol works as normal. It's a 12-inch pistol 1 weapon, strength 7, AP -3 and a damage 1. You can supercharge it to give it strength 8, damage 2. But if you get a 1, then the bearer is slain. So, you know, you don't take a wound off or anything, you lose all those 4 wounds, so it's quite costly just for an extra strength. But it might be worth it if it's only got 1 wound anyway. Cursed Plague Bell, it's a melee weapon, strength of user, which will be 4, AP 0, damage is 2, but it is a plague weapon. Then the Blight Grenades, I've just explained them in the Plaguecaster part of this review. Abilities: Death to the False Emperor and Disgustingly Resilient. And also, it's got a specific ability, the Toxin of Misery. Units must subtract 1 from their leadership whilst they are within 7 inches of any enemy Noxious Blightbringers. Psykers must subtract 2 instead. In addition, if a Death Guard unit is within 7 inches of this model when it advances, roll 2 dice and discard the lowest result when determining the distance. Keywords: Chaos, Nurgle, Heretic Astartes, Death Guard, Character Infantry and Noxious Blightbringer. So yeah, it's good. I mean, you can, you know, reduce the one from the leadership. The melee weapon isn't very good. Is, you know, the plasma pistol's all right. You're really going to have this model to increase the advance of your unit. So if you've got some units that you really want to get into close combat, it's, you know, worth taking this Blightbringer to help them do that. And then the final model in this magazine review is just a Plague Champion. Now, Plague Champion would come under the troop choice of Plague Marines, which are a power points cost of a 7 for 5 of them. A normal Plague Marine stat line is movement of 5 inches, weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 5, 1 wound, 1 attack, leadership 7 and a save of 3+. The Plague Champion has 1 more attack, so it's got attacks 2 and a better leadership at leadership 8. He's essentially like a sergeant of the Space Marines if you're familiar with that army. He's got that Plague Knife. You can replace the Plague Knife with a Plague Sword. It might be worth doing that because that allows him to re-roll wound rolls for the weapon, whereas a Plague Weapon would just be re-roll wound rolls of a 1, but unfortunately doesn't add any strength or damage or AP, but it's worth doing in my opinion. Of course, You can also replace this bolt gun with a bolt pistol, plasma gun. I don't think he's really done that, but it then says the Plague Champion may take a power fist. Again, that's what he's done here. And the power fist works as usual. It bumps his strength up by ×2, so it's strength 8, AP -3 and a damage of D3, but you've got to subtract 1 from the hit roll. So again, worth doing it if you've got a combat focused Plague Marine unit there, because it just gives him an extra punch in combat. But bearing in mind he's still only got 2 attacks and still only got 1 wound and doesn't have an invulnerable save, but he does have that toughness 5, which again would add to his survivability. And remember, he's got disgusting and resilient too. So there you go, that's my review of issue 34. It bit longer than I expected it to be, just because you've got, well, 3 separate units within this magazine. What do you guys think of the issue and of the models? I think they're absolutely brilliant, and I'm just pleased to add more of the same to my Death Guard army. I'm a really big fan of the Death Guard models and the design of them, hence why I started that army. Please do put your thoughts and opinions down below as always. It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. Papa bless.